go, folks. The House passed this resolution praising the life and legacy of white supremacist Charlie Kirk. He was gunned down speaking at a university in Utah. It got 310 votes, but a lot of people are saying what the hell was going on, because you had 58 Democrats voted no, but you had 38 that actually refused to vote as well. You see the vote totals right there. And so, again, you had 95 Democrats vote yes. Among them, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. In addition to Jeffries, you had three other CBC members who voted for the particular resolution. This, of course, as folks asking some serious questions, why in the hell would Democrats actually do this? Did it make any sense whatsoever? Now, Gregory Meeks voted for this. Don Davis. Now, he's in a +3 red district, but it doesn't matter. How about having some conscience? How about having some integrity when it comes to voting here? This, to me, is beyond shameful. It is utterly ridiculous because, again, you can vote against. And also David Scott. And I call out Meeks and Scott, both my frat brothers. Hakeem Jeffries, he's a Kappa. I'm going to call him out. It's different if the resolution dealt with the issue of political violence. But Republicans are treating Charlie Kirk like he was a martyr. And you can't overlook the stuff that Charlie Kirk actually said, especially about black people.
All right, family. So let's talk about something that honestly blows my mind. Democrats right now are out here pretending they are the victims in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And if you think about that for a second, conservatives are the ones actually facing political violence in this case, as we know that Charlie Kirk was a conservative and had strong beliefs when it comes to Christianity and conservative values, because the real bullets, the real threats, and the real funerals, and yet Democrats are crying about mean words. But really, you can say conservatives are the ones that are actually facing political violence, because we know that Charlie Kirk, who was a conservative and played a crucial role as an essential person, a part of the Trump administration, is the one who got assassinated in cold blood, unfortunately. And I say that because the majority of people are saying that and looking at it this way because a conservative had passed away. But this is the game that I want to talk about, because the Democrats, they want to flip the narrative so badly that even when conservatives are literally targeted, like Charlie Kirk, who has been assassinated because he is a conservative, they still paint themselves as ones under attack. Now, tell me this. Imagine, hypothetically, just an example. We're just having a conversation. Do not take it out of context. I'm not saying this directly. I'm using this as an example to have a conversation. So imagine a left-wing civil rights figure was assassinated, and Fox News decided, nah, we don't need to ask Democrats how they're holding up. Let's just bring on a bunch of Republicans to talk about how they feel. Can you even imagine the outrage? But when Charlie Kirk is killed, does MSNBC or CNN ask conservatives, right? Do they ask conservatives how are they holding up? How are you processing this? No, because instead they bring on Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett to act like they're the ones we should feel sorry for. Not the family of the man in the casket, not conservatives watching violence escalate against them, and conservatives feeling targeted because a conservative has basically gotten assassinated. So how more of conservatives you think are feeling the same way of if they can be assassinated because of their difference of belief or political beliefs or being on the opposition, and in this case being a Republican, having conservative values, because all Republicans is lesser government involved in your life, and you are being able to have more resources, let alone money in your pocket, under less government control, but you'll be able to path your own way by being able to get more resources and working hard to earn a living, to earn a way to that American dream that we no longer see in a foresight, because the cost of living and things are so high based on mismanagement from public officials, let alone AKA public servants. So I say all that because It's a scary conversation because no matter what side of the party you're on, can individuals actually have conversations and disagreeably agree without feeling targeted? And conservatives are more so fit in that way because Charlie Kirk has been assassinated, let alone we know that the Democratic Party, which is the far left or extreme left, has been basically spewing extreme radical rhetoric such as fascism, Hitler, and you see these things that are being said, but words have power. And then you have an individual who may disagree with someone agreeably, and they cannot fathom the disagreement to the point where they feel like it justifies taking someone's life. In this case, the same way I'm explaining, which was Charlie Kirk's situation, in which he was a conservative. But Democrats are flipping it instead of taking accountability, for they are the ones who spewed this rhetoric of divisiveness. And I will show you guys as we get later in this video of Jasmine Crockett being one of the essential individuals who have spewed this rhetoric, let alone said these things, and didn't expect people, not knowing their if they have mental health issues, not knowing if they're able to even be able to respectfully walk away after someone disagree with them because they feel someone should agree with them, and if they don't, it justifies taking a life. And then these public officials who are supposed to have the public interest and actually be a public servant, you would think they would be more responsible in the words they say, because now you have people actually taking their word literally, not knowing their background, if they deal with developmental disabilities or any type of mental issues, that take their words literal and actually watch them on a daily basis, where they feel like just justifies the act of killing someone and taking their lives because of a conversation they disagree about, or disagree with someone's opinions where they feel as though it should incite violence. Let alone the Democratic Party, the extreme leftists have been basically spewing extreme rhetoric that have incited violence in the first place, right? So when they bring on Ilhan Omar, right, and they act like they're the ones we should feel sorry for, not for the family and the man in the castle, like I said, but conservatives, not conservatives watching violence escalate against them, but the victims, according to the media, are Democrats who got roasted on Twitter. Now, don't take my word for it. Check out what Ilhan Omar had to say.
So I guess we'll begin with your reaction to the language we just heard from the president there. But also I want to ask how you are doing. You've been attacked by the president, by a colleague whose office is right next door to yours, Congresswoman Nancy Mace. I know that you have received messages and voicemails from people threatening you. How are you holding up first?
I've been here before. I've been the target of the president in the most vile, bigoted, racist ways that you could imagine. And I've had to have full police detail because of that. So it is surprising that he's back at it, because I thought he's moved on and found a new person to harass. But here's, a president that is always unhinged, always strange, always creating chaos and division. And he seems to have a real obsession with anyone that is an immigrant in this country that is not of European descent.
Now, this brings me to Jasmine Crockett, as you guys see on the screen. CNN gives her a platform, rolls out the red carpet, and what does she admit? She hasn't even really listened to Charlie Kirk. She hasn't studied what he said, hasn't dug into his speeches, but she still insists that Congress shouldn't honor him based on what? Gossip, rumors, and what her friends told her. And that's like failing a class because your buddy said the teacher is mean, even though you never showed up to the class yourself. And if CNN had a shred of journalistic integrity left, the host would have said, okay, Jasmine, give me an actual quote, not hearsay, not spin, one direct line from Charlie Kirk that's so vile, so hateful, that his life doesn't deserve to be honored. And she couldn't do it. You know why? Because she doesn't know. She's winging it. She's basically tugging on the heartstrings of individuals who watch her on a daily basis. and she know that she can play off an individual's ignorance. And when I mean ignorance, I mean people who don't have the knowledge like she doesn't of knowing Charlie Kirk's quote words and able to quote them directly to even substantiate her point of why she feel like his death, his life doesn't deserve to be honored. Because I haven't known when it has been a fine line where we at least came to understanding from a partisan agreement out of respect for death. But it has been taken this far from political jargon and political games that not even death is respected, whether you disagree with the person or not. For the simple fact that humanity is not respected because he didn't die naturally. He didn't die naturally. So this how far you can get so infatuated with playing games that you can't even cherish someone's life as if you would want your own life cherished. But I'll continue to go forth. Let's check out what Jasmine Crockett had to say in CNN. I'll be stopping along the way and just giving my commentary. But I want to get you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. On that note, let's go.
Things about political opposition.
Well, on that note, I do want to turn to something that you heard the senator just say, which is he was talking about a resolution that came before the House this past week honoring Charlie Kirk. And there were 58 Democrats who voted against it. You were one.
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely. You know what? One of the things I do want to point out that's not been laid out that honestly hurts my heart is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was specifically to us. And I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff, especially as a civil rights attorney and understanding how I got to Congress, knowing that there were people that died, people that were willing to die, that worked to make sure that voices like mine could exist in this place. So to me, just like we wanted to make sure that those Confederate relics were taken down, the idea of a new age relic being propped up was something.
Now, take her own rhetoric, for example, right? And we just having a conversation because she's mentioning white supremacy and how Charlie Kirk came after black people and the divisive and how hateful and vile he was towards black people, basically remixing it and being a revisionist right now. The reason why I say she's being a revisionist is because she's trying to revise and basically misquote Charlie Kirk, but she can't name a quote directly. But remember I said that we couldn't even come to a partisan understanding, no matter what side of the party you're on politically, out of respect for a death and a human life, as if she would want her own life cherished if she wasn't here, God forbid. And I don't wish no death or nothing on her, but I'm saying you would want your life cherished and honored as well, you know, for your impact and what you have done and all the good things and accolades you have done, and which she obviously has been successful in her life when it comes to, I believe, being an attorney and so forth like that, and to be elected, because obviously she has been elected as a public official to even be in this seat in the first place. No matter, in my opinion, if I feel like she's being effective and efficient at her job or not. But the point I'm saying is the dangerous part is she's setting the president herself. She doesn't even realize, because if God forbid, if it's her own life, Jasmine Crockett, if something ever happened to Jasmine Crockett, people could flip her own logic right back on her as if she was in Charlie Kirk position, or you know, unfortunately, right? And this is where's the empathy and respect for human life and death that I'm talking about, is because we all come, when it comes to being empathetic, we all come to understanding that we put ourselves in other shoes. So if she can't even respect death, no matter, and remove the simple fact that she may disagree with majority of Charlie Kirk's beliefs or strong beliefs or conservative beliefs or whatever the case may be. He wasn't inciting violence. He wasn't trying to harm anyone. And you can debate him. She could have debated him just like anybody else or any regular person. So what I'm saying is, if you flip her own logic right back on her, folks can say, no, don't honor her. She was a black supremacist, right? She spread anti-white hate. She divided this country. She doesn't deserve recognition. And by her standard, that argument would stick. And that's the box she's opening without even realizing it. This is why I say this is ignorance as a public official. Meanwhile, let's keep it real. When you look at Charlie Kirk's rhetoric to Jasmine Crockett's, whose words are more divisive? Who's dropped more inflammatory sound bites on national television? Because I never heard, and correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong, Charlie Kirk say half the things Crockett proudly shouts. And yet she's somehow the innocent one. Right? Hold your own self up to the fire and hold your own self up to the mirror. That's all I'm saying. Nobody's perfect. But she's acting like she has the moral ground and she's holier than thou. Now, don't take my word for it, because I actually have a clip of her spewing this divisive rhetoric. And it comes to the point of even inciting violence. Now, I never heard Charlie Kirk even say the most extreme things like this. That's why I'm saying, if you want to compare technically, whose words is doing more damage? Check this out.
Disagreeing with you, me calling you, I want to be Hitler, all those things are like not necessarily saying go out and hurt somebody. But when you're literally telling people at rallies, yeah, beat them up and that kind of stuff, like you are promoting like a culture of violence.
And I'm sorry, but instead, we are not only going to punch you back, but we are going to knock you out.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. It's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard.
But this is a war. This isn't a battle. And we absolutely will win this war.
It is a war. It is indeed a war. And I have to say, they have won some battles, Jasmine, but we have to keep our eye on the war, and everybody needs to pick up a weapon and get involved, because this is for the safety and lasting of the country.
Now, Democrats love to say conservatives' rhetoric is the problem, that it fuels violence, right? But let's look at the reality. And no matter how you put it, no matter what party, they shouldn't fuel violence, right? It's unnecessary, and I don't condone it in any way, shape, or form. But who's actually acting out violently? Because it's not conservatives storming comedy clubs or taking swings in baseball fields. It's leftists. And here's the kicker. Democrats themselves admit their base struggles with mental health at higher rates. Now, that's not to exclude anyone, but I'm saying is that's even more important, because you cannot be ignorantly, as a public official, spreading this type of rhetoric, because now it tells me you're playing on the vulnerable to play into your political games and political jargon. That's propaganda, that's inciting violence, that people take literal, and that's disrespectful for individuals who have a mental health issues at higher rates. And the Democrats admitting themselves that their base struggle with mental health at higher rates. And that's not me making it up, because it's their own polling. So when Democrat leaders scream war and pick up a weapon and hit them in the head, you just heard what she just said. She believe in punching. And their people take it literal and they act on it. Meanwhile, conservatives hear fury rhetoric all the time, but don't act it on the same way. That's the difference. But the media, they'll never admit that. Instead, CNN nods along with Jasmine Crockett, as we're seeing in this video that I'm showing you guys of her speaking on CNN at the State of the Union. Jasmine Crockett compares Trump to Hitler and America in 2025 to Nazi Germany. And the anchor doesn't push back, doesn't challenge it, just let it ride like she's spitting gospel truth. That's dangerous. And if a Republican even talked as she's coming at Charlie Kirk, who was a Republican, obviously, breathed half that kind of hyper I can't even say it. That kind of nonsense, put it like that, or hyperbole, they'll get fact checked into oblivion. But Democrats, they get a free pass every single time. So if you want to hold the standard, hold it for both parties, but also make sure you uphold the standard to its highest extent by holding yourself accountable first. And that's the bigger issue here. The media has become the megaphone for Democratic talking points. And they're not checking lies, they're amplifying them. And they're not protecting the public, they're fueling division. And yes, their propaganda has consequences, because it emboldens violence, it normalizes hatred, And the casualties, they are conservatives, not the people whining about mean tweets. So let's call it what it is, gaslighting. But let's continue.
Something that I just could not subscribe to. And it is unfortunate that more of my colleagues, even on my side of the aisle, could not see the amount of harm that this man was attempting to inflict upon our communities.
So meanwhile, you obviously feel very strongly about the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk used, that you find objectionable, and also from others in the MAGA movement. As the memorial service for him is going to happen later today, there is a debate over heated rhetoric on all sides. And
listen, whether it's heated or not, the fact is Charlie Kirk should still be here. It should not have been that there was political violence that resulted because of the words that were coming out of his mouth, just like plenty of MAGA hates when I mention white supremacy, which kind of tells you where MAGA stands. But nevertheless, they get very upset when I talk about white supremacy. But that doesn't mean that somebody should then try to find a bullet or try to find a knife and harm me. Not in America. That's not who we are supposed to be.
Well, let me ask you, because I do want to play a couple of statements that you made earlier this year.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we have someone that is occupying the White House, and as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States. They want to show that they are loyal to this, I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure.
And to be clear, the president has attacked, other people have attacked you in his orbit, maybe not him personally. But do you have a responsibility as an elected official not to raise the temperature, but rather lower the temperature, particularly when there are people out there who listen to elected officials all over the place who are not well, who use that as a way to instigate the political violence that you are calling out?
I think that my responsibility is to be transparent and to be honest. And the reality is that we are living in a time in which this administration and this regime is not interested in making sure that people understand history. We need to understand why they are so problematic. And so I am using that language because it is accurate language.
I can't do her anymore. She just basically absolved herself. The question was basically, do you feel like as a public official, your words play a crucial role and you should be held to a standard by not raising the temperature, but also being aware of what you're saying because your words have impact as a public official? And should you take more accountability and take heed of what you're saying before you say it, because it can be taken permanently and your words actually have volume because you are a public official who's supposed to have the public interest, not public issue, public interest. And she has been elected based on individuals trusting her to have the public interest for the people that voted her in and elected her in the first place to be a public official. How did it end up her turning into talking about white supremacy again, divisive rhetoric, and talking about the other administration, in this case, the other party, which is she's talking about the Republican. They want to play the blame game. They want to gaslight, but however, you just need to answer the question in regards to yourself. So when is it ever about Jasmine Crockett actually taking accountability and talking about what she's doing and what she's going to do to be better as a public official? Or what is her party doing to move forward and also create change positively after this horrific situation that should have never took place in the first place of the assassination of Charlie Kirk? And what about individuals who fear of even expressing their beliefs without feeling like they're going to be retaliated against in their life possibly being taken? But she doesn't want to talk about that. She wants to play the blame game and keep talking about the other administration. Look, I don't care about either party. I'm not playing a political games. I'm talking about human life. I'm talking about the public interest, and I'm pro-American and American first. And if you keep playing these games, nothing will get done on the best interest of Americans. And that's why most people feel, and it's just a sentiment of the people, and what you see on TikTok, you start seeing more people wake up, that the Democratic Party does nothing but throw money at a problem. They create a problem. They print more money. It raises the cost of living. And then you wonder why the American dream is no longer in foresight. Instead, I don't care what side you're on. When it comes to a human life, it should be a partisan understanding that it should be honored, respected, out of respect for death, whether you disagree with the person soulfully because of their beliefs in their own purpose, right? Because everybody's not going to agree with your purpose and what you have in life, your career and what you chose to do. But that's you uniquely being different in how you add value to the earth and how you add value to this world and your communities and everything else like that. And that's what I like to talk about. So I look past this political jargon. I look at more so solutions based on what's best for the everyday average Joe American. And she wants to play this Democratic cosplay as a victim. And I'm gonna call it what it is. If you want to play this victim Olympics role, then you got to look at conservatives realizing that they keep getting hit with real world consequences, and you keep playing the blame game, and it doesn't help Americans. It doesn't help this country to continue to move and learn from our mistakes and do better. You keep talking about racism and white supremacy and this division when we should be coming together as unity. And human life has been taken due to an extreme ideology which never should have taken place, and you want to keep talking about blaming this administration and that. And you see, she don't care. She want to talk about what she has a personal vendetta against instead of talking about what really matters, which is the American people. And the media keep covering for her because she should have reiterated the question and say, look, you talking about the other administration. I'm talking about, do you think that your words actually have volume and have weight when you say things as a public official? But no, she don't want to talk about it like that. But if nothing changes, this cycle of political violence is only going to get worse. And look, it won't be Democrats paying the price because they want to sit there and play the blame game and blame Trump and Trump this and Trump that. So yeah, let me know what you think. Drop a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video. Because if the media won't tell the truth, then we got to do it ourselves, and we got to actually have a viable conversation here. Look past the nonsense and the games. You know what I'm saying? Games are for kids, not for adults. And at the end of the day, what they usually say, tricks are for kids, right? Peace.